A small, nondescript bar with a pink neon sign, a basement entrance with scabby railings painted blue. That's what he told me before he knocked back his whiskey and left a pound on the bar for a 5-shilling tip. I let that buy my drink too. Waited 2 minutes, then left and followed his tall trench coat figure through the evening fog, hanging back, dawdling hard on corners so that we wouldn't seem to be together. This place is discreet. It has to be, he said. They don't want drones crowding the front door looking for a taste of honey. He'd spoken in a casual undertone, his eyes on a tin-plate toucan advertising Guinness, which was hanging above the pint glasses. Momentarily, his gaze had locked with mine and flicked away again. They have a couple of entrances on different streets, he continued. So if there's a police raid, you can scatter. He waited until the barmaid was safely down the other end of the bar, busying herself with the optics. She had been disgusted if she had any idea what we were talking about. Some women these days are liberal, surprisingly so. But I had glimpsed her pair bond ring as she was pulling my pint, and she didn't look the broad-made sort. She would have fainted if she had known I was thinking about her deep, milky cleavage. I'd smiled and kept my eyes firmly on hers as she handed me my change. But peripheral vision is a wonderful thing. That was when he caught me looking. "Some girl got lucky, huh?" he said softly as the barmaid turned away. I twitched my head toward him, fractionally electrified, unable to believe my ears, terrified that the woman might have heard him. "What?" I said. The barmaid moved to serve another customer. I lowered my head and leaned into him like we were flirting. He whispered in my ear, "I saw you looking, my friend. Who wouldn't? I know a little bar near where there are girls who enjoy the attention." To my shame, I knew men like me existed. Of course I did. But girls? Only in the most exotic and hardcore pornography. The kind that didn't exist in my tiny village or even on Market Burford. Indeed, anywhere except the sinful city of London did women allow themselves to be polluted that way. The vagina and its secrets were sacred to the female, and always had been. The only time a male should be inside one, as the old saying goes, is when he's being born. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Which was why I saved enough from my weekend job sweeping hair clippings at the Boys Beauty in Brookdale Village to make the daunting trip to Soho. Now, I knew prostitutes existed, having read many a thundering local about them in the Daily Record. But I had no idea how much one might cost, especially for what I wanted. There was only one way to find out. Girls who'd enjoyed it. What was he telling me? What was the trap? Was he a pimp? Surely no woman would allow a man to do that. There, voluntarily. My brain span with newspaper stories of innocent young men up in the country, fleeced or worse by unscrupulous speeds or con men or who preyed on their innocence. perhaps he intended to blackmail me as the worst sort of pervert. Lead me astray, then demand money, not to have me arrested. Shame my father, send me to jail, and end my life. Don't look so frightened, he said with a grin. I won't bite. Another 2 bells over here, he called to the deep-bosomed barmaid. As she poured them, he stroked my lapel conquitously until she smiled indulgently and gave us the privacy 2 lovebirds might require. He was a handsome fellow, perhaps 10 years my senior, which would put him in his early 30s. He had reddish hair, blue eyes, and a fresh tan which didn't come from a bottle. I liked all these things, but not in a man. And God knows I tried. With Jake, captain of the cricket team at school, with Alexander Baker, whom I met on my first trip of national service. I had thought we were best friends, but he had a dreadful passion for me and hung himself in the barracks because I would not make love to him. With poor Tom of Scratched Farm, whose sister Joan I imagined nightly, her stocking ankles flitting through my dreams, which became nightmares because I could not catch her. And no, I shouldn't long to. Tom had looked so like Joan. I thought it might work, but it didn't. After completing my national service, I had crept, ashamed, back to my little village, as a mouse might to his hole, to assist my reverend father in the completion of his never-ending history of Middlesex church architecture. On weekends, I swept at Boy's Beauty, hoping to meet a boy, beautiful as a girl, and fall in love with him, and becoming more and more convinced that I never would. This was my life, and this was all my life. The world and the Daily Record, and my father's God told me that people like me deserved no more. And then a man in a cheap, smoky public house on Poland Street had told me that I could have everything I dreamed of if only I followed him to a bar with a pink neon sign and blue railings. The neon glowed in a drizzle like the promise of heaven. The name of the place was the Commissionary, but the first 3 letters had shorted out. A code word for this, like myself. The ultimate perversion. The unimaginable vice. Down the wet steps, past an obsequious doorman who winked at me. But he was not flirting. It was a friendly signal of complicity into a dark room, hot with cigarette smoke and the sweetness of spirits. French wine on the tables nestled between couples who were quite breezingly sitting together despite their opposing gender. On a tiny, spotlit stage, a shapely woman with cascading blonde hair sang a duet with her female pianist about he and she love, you and me love. When the song ended, they kissed lightly on the lips and everybody applauded. I saw him sitting at the bar like the older brother I never had, ready to welcome me to where I had always belonged. He raised his whiskey to me and nodded at the barmaid, who smiled at me as if at an old friend. You're buying, he said, and Celia here will have one too. I blushed as I ordered. Celia was blue-eyed, with hair red like a flame, and a soft, husky voice that reminded me of Joan Scratcher. When I met her eye, she did look away. Thank you.